The night was thick with tension, the kind that made my skin crawl and my heart race. I had been suspicious for weeks, ever since I noticed the late-night phone calls and the way my wife, Lily, would disappear into the shadows of the night. She always had an excuse: work, friends, errands, but something felt off. And then there was my best friend, Tom, who seemed to be around more often than usual, his eyes lingering on Lily just a little too long. I decided to follow her one night, my gut twisting with a mix of anger and fear. I parked my car a block away from the address she had given me, a high-rise apartment building in the heart of the city. The lights were dim, the streets quiet, and the air was heavy with the scent of rain. I watched as Lily walked into the building, her heels clicking against the pavement, her body wrapped in a tight black dress that left little to the imagination. I waited for what felt like an eternity before I saw him, Tom. He was dressed casually, but there was a predatory look in his eyes as he followed Lily into the building. My heart pounded in my chest as I got out of the car, my hands trembling with rage. I needed to know what was going on, needed to see it with my own eyes. I slipped into the building behind a group of people, my heart racing as I made my way to the elevator. I pressed the button for the 12th floor, the number I had seen Lily press earlier. The ride up felt like an eternity, my mind racing with thoughts of betrayal and deceit. When the doors finally opened, I stepped out into the hallway, my breath catching in my throat. I could hear them before I saw them, soft moans and the sound of skin against skin. My blood boiled as I approached the door, my hand trembling as I reached for the handle. I pushed it open, the sight before me making my stomach churn. Lily was on the bed, her body writhing beneath Tom's as he thrust into her with a savage intensity. Her legs were wrapped around his waist, her nails digging into his back as she moaned his name. The room was filled with the scent of sex, the air thick with their passion. I stood there, frozen, my mind unable to process what I was seeing. My wife, the woman I had loved and trusted for years, was betraying me with my best friend. The man I had confided in, the man I had trusted with my life, was now fucking my wife with a reckless abandon that made my blood boil. I wanted to scream, to lash out, to hurt them both, but I couldn't move. I was paralyzed by the sight before me, my heart shattering into a million pieces. I had always known that Lily had a past, that she had secrets, but I never imagined it would come to this. As I stood there, I noticed something else, something that made my blood run cold. On the nightstand, next to the bed, was a small, black book. It was the same book I had seen Lily carrying around for weeks, the one she always kept locked in her drawer. My curiosity got the better of me, and I stepped closer, my eyes never leaving the book. I reached out and picked it up, my hands trembling as I flipped through the pages. What I found inside made my heart stop. It was a diary, filled with detailed accounts of Lily's affairs she had been having for years. There were names, dates, and even photos. And there, on the last page, was a photo of Tom, with a note that read, "The one who got away." I felt a wave of nausea wash over me as I realized the extent of Lily's betrayal. She had been lying to me for years, cheating on me with multiple men, including my best friend. And Tom, he had known all along. He had been a part of this, playing me for a fool while he fucked my wife behind my back. I wanted to confront them, to scream and shout and demand answers, but I knew it wouldn't do any good. They were too far gone, too lost in their own world of lies and deceit. Instead, I turned and walked out of the room, my heart heavy with the weight of what I had discovered. As I made my way back to the elevator, I couldn't help but think about Mia, our daughter. She was only 16, too young to understand the complexities of adult relationships. How could I explain to her that her mother was a liar and a cheat? How could I protect her from the pain and heartbreak that was sure to come? I stepped into the elevator and pressed the button for the ground floor, my mind racing with thoughts of what to do next. I knew I couldn't stay with Lily, not after what I had seen. But I also knew that leaving her would mean uprooting Mia's life, tearing apart the family we had built together. As the elevator doors closed, I felt a sense of determination wash over me. I couldn't let Lily and Tom destroy everything I had worked so hard to build. I would protect Mia, no matter what it took. And I would make sure that Lily and Tom paid for their betrayal. The elevator doors opened, and I stepped out into the cool night air. The rain had started to fall, the drops hitting the pavement with a soft, rhythmic patter. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the night settle on my shoulders. It was going to be a long, hard road. But I knew I had to face it head-on. I got into my car and started the engine, the sound of the rain on the roof soothing my frayed nerves. As I drove away from the apartment building, I couldn't help but think about the future. It was uncertain, filled with challenges and obstacles, but I knew I had to stay strong, for Mia and for myself. The night was still young, and the storm was just beginning, but I was ready to face it, ready to fight for what was right. And no matter what happened, I knew I would come out on top, because I had something that Lily and Tom didn't: integrity and the strength to do what was right. As I drove through the rain-soaked streets, I felt a sense of clarity wash over me. I knew what I had to do, and I was ready to take the first step. The road ahead would be difficult, but I was prepared to face it. And no matter what, I would protect Mia from the storm that was coming. The night was dark, but I could see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I was determined to reach it, no matter what it took. The drive home was a blur, my mind a whirlwind of emotions: anger, betrayal, and a deep, gnawing sadness. The rain hammered against the windshield, the rhythmic sound almost hypnotic, but it did little to calm the storm raging inside me. I kept replaying the scene in my mind: Lily and Tom, their bodies entwined, the way she moaned his name. It was like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. When I finally pulled into the driveway, the house was dark except for the faint glow of the porch light. Mia was still awake, her silhouette visible through the living room window. She was sitting on the couch, her knees pulled up to her chest, staring at the TV. My heart ached for her. She was too young to be caught in the middle of this mess, but there was no avoiding it now. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself before stepping inside. The moment I opened the door, Mia's head snapped up, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and anger. She had followed me earlier, had seen everything. There was no point in lying to her now. "Dad," she whispered, her voice trembling. "What's going on? Why were you at that apartment? And why was Mom with Uncle Tom?" I closed the door behind me, the sound echoing in the silence. My legs felt like lead as I walked over to the couch and sat down beside her. I didn't know where to start, how to explain the mess her mother had created. But I owed her the truth. "Mia," I began, my voice hoarse. "Your mom and we've been having problems for a while now." I suspected something was going on, but I didn't want to believe it. Tonight, I found out the truth. "Your mom, she's been having an affair with Tom." Mia's face crumpled, tears spilling down her cheeks. "No, that can't be true. Mom wouldn't do that. Uncle Tom wouldn't do that. You're lying." I reached out to comfort her, but she pulled away, her eyes blazing with anger. "I'm not lying, Mia. I wish I was. I saw them together. I didn't want to believe it either, but it's the truth." She buried her face in her hands, her shoulders shaking with sobs. I felt helpless, unsure of how to comfort her. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was about Mia, about her trust, her sense of security. Lily and Tom hadn't just betrayed me, they had betrayed her too. "What are we going to do?" Mia asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I sighed, running a hand through my hair. "I don't know yet, but I promise you, I'll figure it out. I'll make sure you're okay, no matter what happens." She looked up at me, her eyes red and puffy. "I hate them. I hate Mom. I hate Uncle Tom. How could they do this to us?" I didn't have an answer for her. How could I explain something I didn't even understand myself? All I could do was hold her, let her cry, and promise her that I would protect her from the fallout. The rest of the night passed in a haze. Mia eventually fell asleep on the couch, her head resting on my shoulder. I carried her to her room, tucking her in like I used to when she was little. As I stood there, watching her sleep, I felt a surge of determination. I had to be strong for her. I couldn't let Lily and Tom's actions destroy her. The next morning, I woke up early, my mind already racing with thoughts of what to do next. I needed a plan, a way to confront Lily and Tom without letting my emotions get the better of me. I couldn't afford to lose control, not now, not when Mia was counting on me. I made breakfast, the familiar routine helping to calm my nerves. Mia came downstairs a little while later, her eyes still red from crying. She didn't say much, just picked at her food, her mind clearly elsewhere. I didn't push her. She needed time to process everything. After breakfast, I called my lawyer. It was time to start thinking about the next steps: divorce, custody, all the things I had never imagined I'd have to deal with. The conversation was brief, but it gave me a sense of direction. I wasn't alone in this. I had people who could help me navigate the legal mess that was sure to come. Later that afternoon, I heard the front door open. Lily walked in, her face pale and drawn. She looked like she hadn't slept, her eyes bloodshot and her hair a mess. She froze when she saw me, her expression a mix of guilt and fear. "We need to talk," I said, my voice cold and steady. She nodded, her hands trembling as she set her bag down. "I know. I'm so sorry. Save it," I interrupted, cutting her off. "I don't want to hear your excuses. Not now. Not ever. What you did, it's unforgivable." She flinched, tears welling up in her eyes. "I never meant to hurt you. I never meant to hurt Mia. It just happened." "It just happened?" I repeated, my voice rising. "You don't just accidentally sleep with your husband's best friend, Lily. You made a choice. And now you're going to have to live with the consequences." She started to cry, her shoulders shaking with sobs, but I felt no sympathy for her. She had made her bed, and now she would have to lie in it. "I'm filing for divorce," I said, my tone final. "And I'm going to fight for full custody of Mia. You've lost the right to be her mother." Her eyes widened in horror. "You can't do that. She's my daughter. And you're the one who destroyed our family," I shot back. "You don't get to play the victim here, Lily. This is on you." She collapsed onto the couch, her face buried in her hands. I turned away, unable to look at her. The woman I had once loved was gone, replaced by a stranger I no longer recognized. As I walked out of the room, I felt a strange sense of relief. The truth was out, and now I could start to rebuild my life. For Mia and for myself. The road ahead would be long and difficult, but I was ready to face it. Because no matter what, I would protect my daughter from the storm that Lily and Tom had created. The days that followed were a whirlwind of legal meetings, phone calls, and sleepless nights. My lawyer, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Claire, helped me navigate the complexities of divorce and custody battles. She assured me that, given the circumstances, I had a strong case for full custody of Mia. But that didn't make the process any easier. Every document I signed, every conversation I had, felt like another nail in the coffin of the life I had built with Lily. Mia, for her part, was struggling. She alternated between anger and sadness, lashing out at me one moment and clinging to me the next. She refused to speak to Lily, shutting her out completely whenever she tried to reach out. I didn't blame her. Lily's betrayal had cut deep, and Mia was dealing with it in the only way she knew how. One evening, after a particularly tense day, Mia came into the living room where I was sitting, staring at the blank TV screen. She sat down beside me, her hands fidgeting in her lap. "Dad," she said quietly, "are we going to be okay?" I turned to look at her, my heart breaking at the uncertainty in her eyes. "We're going to be fine, Mia. It's going to be hard for a while, but we'll get through this together." She nodded, but I could tell she wasn't convinced. I don't understand why Mom did it. Why would she hurt us like that?" I sighed, running a hand through my hair. "I don't know. Sweetheart, people make mistakes, sometimes really big ones. And sometimes, those mistakes hurt the people they love the most." She was silent for a moment, then whispered, "Do you think she still loves us?" The question caught me off guard, and for a moment, I didn't know how to answer. Did Lily still love us? Or had her affair with Tom destroyed whatever love she had left? "I think," I said carefully, "that your mom is confused. She made a terrible choice, and now she's dealing with the consequences. But that doesn't mean she doesn't love you. She's just lost right now." Mia nodded again, but I could tell she wasn't satisfied with my answer. And honestly, neither was I. How could I explain something I didn't even understand myself? The next day, I received a call from Claire. She had some news about the custody case, and it wasn't good. Lily was fighting back, claiming that I was unfit to be Mia's primary caregiver. She was accusing me of being emotionally distant and neglectful, painting a picture of me that was far from the truth. "She's desperate," Claire said over the phone. "She knows she's on shaky ground, so she's trying to shift the blame onto you. But don't worry, we've got evidence to counter her claims. We'll get through this." I hung up the phone, feeling a mix of anger and frustration. How could Lily do this? How could she try to turn Mia against me, to paint me as the villain in all of this? It was a low blow, even for her. That evening, I decided to talk to Mia about it. She deserved to know what was going on, even if it was painful. Mia, I said as we sat down for dinner, there's something I need to tell you. Your mom, she's trying to get custody of you. She's saying some things about me that aren't true. And I want you to know that I'm doing everything I can to fight it. Mia's eyes widened in shock. What? But why would she do that? She's the one who messed up, not you. I know, I said gently. But she's scared, Mia. She's scared of losing you, and she's doing whatever she can to keep you with her. Mia's face hardened, her jaw tightening with determination. Well, she's not going to win. I don't want to live with her. I want to stay with you. Her words filled me with a sense of relief, but also sadness. Mia shouldn't have to choose between her parents. She shouldn't have to be caught in the middle of this mess. Thank you, sweetheart, I said, reaching out to squeeze her hand. That means a lot to me. But no matter what happens, I want you to know that I love you, and I'll always be here for you. She nodded, her eyes filling with tears. I love you too, Dad. The next few weeks were a blur of legal battles and emotional turmoil. Lily's accusations were baseless, but they still took a toll on me. I had to prove, over and over again, that I was a good father, that I was capable of taking care of Mia. It was exhausting, but I refused to give up. Finally, the day of the custody hearing arrived. I walked into the courtroom with Mia by my side, my heart pounding in my chest. This was it, the moment that would determine our future. The hearing was intense, with both sides presenting their arguments. Claire was relentless, dismantling Lily's claims one by one. She presented evidence of my involvement in Mia's life, school events, doctor's appointments, everything that showed I was an active, caring father. She also brought up Lily's affair, painting it as a clear example of her poor judgment. When it was Lily's turn to speak, she broke down in tears, pleading with the judge to give her another chance. She claimed that she had made a mistake, that she was willing to do whatever it took to make things right. But her words rang hollow, and the judge wasn't swayed. In the end, the judge ruled in my favor, granting me full custody of Mia. Lily was given visitation rights. But it was clear that she had lost the battle. As we walked out of the courtroom, Mia squeezed my hand, her face filled with relief. We did it, Dad, she said, her voice trembling with emotion. We did, I replied, pulling her into a tight hug. We're going to be okay, Mia. I promise. And for the first time in weeks, I actually believed it. The road ahead would still be difficult, but we had each other, and that was enough. The months turned into years, and slowly but surely, Mia and I found our footing in this new chapter of our lives. The scars from Lily's betrayal were still there, but they no longer felt raw. Instead, they served as reminders of what we had overcome together. Mia grew into a strong, resilient young woman, and I couldn't have been prouder of her. She excelled in school, made new friends, and even started talking about her dreams for the future. It was as if the storm we had weathered had only made her stronger. As for me, I focused on rebuilding my life. I threw myself into my work, finding solace in the routine and the sense of purpose it gave me. I also started dating again, though cautiously. Trust didn't come easily after what had happened with Lily, but I knew I couldn't let her actions define the rest of my life. I met a woman named Sarah through a mutual friend, and she was everything Lily wasn't: kind, honest, and patient. She understood my past and never pushed me to open up before I was ready. Slowly but surely, she became a part of my life, and eventually, Mia's too. Mia was hesitant at first, understandably so. She had been hurt by Lily's betrayal, and the idea of letting someone new into our lives was daunting. But Sarah was patient, never trying to replace Lily, but instead offering her support and friendship. Over time, Mia warmed up to her, and it was a relief to see her smile again, to see her trust in someone other than me. One evening, as we sat around the dinner table, Mia looked at me and said, "Dad, I think I'm ready to talk to Mom." Her words caught me off guard. It had been years since Lily had been a part of our lives, and while she had reached out occasionally, Mia had always refused to see or speak to her. I had respected her decision, knowing that she needed time to heal. "Are you sure?" I asked gently, searching her face for any sign of doubt. She nodded, her expression serious. "I'm not saying I forgive her or that I want her back in my life, but I think I need closure. I need to understand why she did what she did." I reached out and squeezed her hand. If that's what you need, then I'll support you. But I want you to know that you don't owe her anything. This is about you, not her." She smiled, a small but genuine smile. "Thanks, Dad. I know." A few days later, Mia arranged to meet Lily at a coffee shop. I offered to go with her, but she insisted on doing it alone. I respected her decision, though I couldn't help but worry. I waited at home, pacing the living room, until she finally walked through the door. "How did it go?" I asked, trying to keep my tone neutral. Mia sighed, sitting down on the couch. "It was weird." She looked different, older. She apologized, said she regretted everything, and that she's been trying to get her life back on track. But it didn't feel real, you know? Like she was saying what she thought I wanted to hear. I sat down beside her, putting an arm around her shoulders. "I'm sorry, sweetheart. I know that must have been hard." She leaned into me, her voice quiet. "It was, but I'm glad I did it. I think I needed to see her, to hear her say those things, even if I don't believe them. It helped me realize that I'm not the one who's broken. She is." Her words filled me with a sense of pride. Mia had grown so much, and her strength never ceased to amaze me. "You're an incredible person, Mia, and I'm so proud of you." She smiled, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Thanks, Dad. I couldn't have gotten through this without you." As the years went on, our lives continued to evolve. Mia graduated high school and went off to college, leaving me with an empty nest and a newfound sense of freedom. Sarah and I grew closer, and eventually we got married. It was a small, intimate ceremony, with Mia as my best man, or rather, best woman. Seeing her standing by my side, smiling and happy, was one of the proudest moments of my life. Lily remained a distant figure in our lives, though she occasionally reached out to Mia. Their relationship was strained, but Mia had found a way to forgive her, not for Lily's sake, but for her own. She had learned to let go of the anger and the pain, and in doing so, she had found peace. One evening, as Sarah and I sat on the porch watching the sunset, I reflected on everything we had been through. It had been a long, difficult journey, but it had also been a journey of growth and healing. We had faced the storm together, and in the end, we had come out stronger. "You've done an amazing job with Mia," Sarah said, breaking the silence. "She's an incredible young woman, and a lot of that is because of you." I smiled, feeling a sense of gratitude wash over me. "Thank you." But it wasn't just me. We did it together, Mia, me, and you. You've been a huge part of our lives, and I'm so grateful for that. She leaned her head against my shoulder, her voice soft. "I love you. You know that?" "I love you too," I replied, holding her close. Always. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I felt a sense of contentment that I hadn't felt in years. The past was behind us, and the future was bright. We had faced the storm, and we had come out stronger. And in the end, that was all that mattered.